and welcome to The Truth Hurts with me, Tony Quinn. The Truth Hurts is a show about recovery and everything in between. And today we have the awesome Imogen Arroyo, because I was trying to think of how to say your surname, and then I was like, words stopped making sense. But we've got Imogen with us today, and this girl is the best. I met her on Facebook, and I fell in love with you because of your dank recovery memes. You post the best shit ever. And that's when I fell in love with you. And Imogen has just hit 4 years sober. So well fucking done, dude. That is huge. And
thank you.
I'm so honored to have you. And I'm so happy we can actually meet and talk about this, you know? So.
Oh no, same here.
Introduce yourself. Tell us a bit about yourself, your story, your recovery story, and then we'll chat.
Yeah. So I'm Imogen Arroyo.
Arroyo.
See, it doesn't sound right when I try to do it now.
No, it
I
sounds
feel
right
silly.
when you do it. I sound like some chick, like some Jewish chick trying to sound all cool. Arroyo. Arroyo.
Well, yeah. So I'm Imogen. My clean time date is the 8th of August, 2016. I actually drove myself to rehab after my 21st. Yeah, though it was a mad one. But honestly, I've never been so grateful for doing something like that before. When I first went in, I was, I thought I was there for just like 7 days, I was going to learn how to use responsibly.
Yeah.
And then I did 9 months and I was like, oh shit, no, I'm not using ever again. And yeah, thinking about, how life was before to how life is now, it's something I could never comprehend.
I'm just in shock because, you think 21, okay? So I know a few girls in the rooms that got sober 18, 19, 20, and 21. And for me, it blows my mind. Like, it's just something I cannot comprehend. And to see women like you, that kind of young and taking charge of your life is unbelievable. And a lot of girls need that. A lot of young women need to know that you can make the decision. You can get sober and you can do it young.
Oh yeah, no, definitely.
21 on your 21st. Okay, so tell us your story. How did you get to that point?
Oh goodness, now that is quite a story. So in terms of like, childhood, our parents got divorced. There was an alcoholic in the family, and as a kiddie, I was a very depressed kiddie. Obviously with stress from the family, that really did take quite a toll on me. And in school, I was bullied a lot. So I wasn't a happy kid at all. But I found that my escape was animals, because their love is unconditional, whereas a human's love is conditional. So that always became my outlet. I'd spend weekends with my horse, and it was honestly the best thing. My best friend was my horse.
You had a horse?
And yes, I did. I had this little white Shetland called Cloudy. He was the most precious thing in the world. He was so cute. Yeah. No, he was an absolute honey. So, yeah. And, wow. Yeah. Thinking back, primary school was also, it was a real shit one. I always wanted to be part of the popular girls, but I was different. I was really different, and I didn't fit in. So, yeah, and when things started getting a bit rough was in terms of using. There was an incident in the family, and the only way I felt that I could get some relief was by taking a pill, as I was put on antidepressants and Ritalin as a little kiddie.
Okay.
Yeah. And in my mind, it was pills make you feel better. So I had that mindset. And after this incident happened, I went straight to the medicine cabinet and I took 2 Panados, which it seems like nothing, but I wasn't even a teenager when that happened.
So did you take them knowing that it could either kill you or numb you when you're young? You know, I know it can't kill you, but was that the thought in your head?
Yeah, there was this fear, but also the sense of relief.
Yeah.
When I took it, it was like, I mean, yeah, it's just Panada. It's not going to really do anything. But as a kiddie, you know, it's like making a choice like that is terrifying.
Yeah, it's already your coping mechanism.
Oh, yeah. So I think that was the point where I actually really felt pills mean relief. Pills numb you.
Yeah.
Even though it was Panado. But yeah. So yeah, parents got divorced. It was quite a nasty one. And my views on relationships and whatnot changed drastically after that. Yeah, it's quite something. So yeah, then when I went to high school, I vowed I would never get bullied again. And that's where I learned how to blend in with people. Oh, wow. And I could sit with who I wanted, talk to whoever, but I refused to get close to people because I didn't want to deal with their dramas. And I started creating a new gin, and it involved going out to parties. The first time I ever drank alcohol, oh my goodness, it was at my aunt's wedding. It was a lethal gin and tonic, but pretty much got blackout drunk. Yeah. And I never was able to really control my drinking. And I didn't drink often, but when I did, it was literally from talking to blackout. There was never in between.
Yeah. So it's like you'd have that drink, and then even if you're not drinking every day, it's that binge drinking mentality where it's like I need more. Woke up in the hospital. You know, one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And the thing is, like with in terms of drinking, I wasn't the biggest fan of it because of a family member being an alcoholic, and it put me off drinking. So that's where I tend to lean more towards the drug side of things. And sorry, there's the dogs.
We discussed that this is going to happen. A cat's going to come through at some point. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to shout at them to keep quiet because people will think I'm crazy. I am, but
let them bark.
These dogs.
Let them bark.
Yeah. So, yeah, in high school, I was quite an overachiever. I wanted to get into med school, and I was super focused, and that's all I wanted. I had a lot going for me. I got my South African show jumping half colors. I was prefect and had all those titles, but deep down inside, there was an addict forming.
Yeah.
And it started off with, taking an extra Ritalin to work with the extra hours. Then when I'm feeling sad, a bottle of melatonin, not just one, you just take the whole thing, go to sleep. And when I was trying to think how old it was, when I was about 14, I developed a bit of an eating disorder, and I started losing a lot of weight. Unfortunately, I got into a relationship with a man that was much, much older than me. And, I did stuff that I wish I could take back, but it really did take away my innocence. And that's where a new fear came in, a fear of men. And the way I could control this was, and also, between my parents' divorce and, all the dramas that came with it, and family member going into rehab, was I can choose how much food to put in my body. And that was my control.
Yeah.
I couldn't control my life, but I could control what I ate.
Absolutely get it.
So that became a new addiction for me. And I went absolutely batshit crazy during that time.
And Ritalin still,
not eating, training excessively.
Still on Ritalin.
Big time.
Yeah, that scares me. That's the scary combination.
It is. And also, also when I was a little kid, I was put on antidepressants and all that stuff. So it was a lot of stuff. And yeah, I was just a broken person. And then when I hit, I think it was like grade 11, I had my first overdose. At this point, I hadn't been really experimenting with drugs. It was more prescription pills, playing and whatnot. And I got into a fight with a family member because they found a whole thing of really shitty weed in a little box.
Matchbox weed.
And it was proper jut. It was solid jut. So, and she asked me, what was this? And I had a whole hissy fit and I freaked out and I took a whole bunch of pills. And at that point, I learned how to hold my parents to ransom with emotional blackmail.
Wow.
And it was an absolutely horrendous thing to do. I figured, okay, well, there's a slap on the wrist. This is a new way of getting what I want. And then when high school so then I got into university and I ended up doing equine sciences and I was focusing on the veterinary part of it. But this is really where drugs started getting out of hand. It started off with a bit of weed and then slowly but surely you're moving on to harder things. And during this time, everything I didn't want to be, I became. And the way it just spiraled down so quickly, it was terrifying. I started spending time with really, really unsavory people. I don't know how else to say it, really dodgy people.
Your best friends,
and
they look after you.
Oh, yeah. Like it was only when I went to rehab, I learned that, oh, shit, my drug dealer wasn't my friend. That was my drug dealer. What is this? But I felt, there was a part of me that felt so free. I didn't care about anything. I could do whatever I wanted. I felt cooler than everyone because I was doing drugs. I was part of a new crowd. And slowly but surely, you know how it starts off once a week. Then it goes to twice a week. Next thing, it is from the time you wake up till the moment you finally pass out after a bender, and those bloody morning birds.
Bro,
and it becomes
those. Fuck.
Those birds. Oh yeah. No, they're the absolute worst. And in my second year of varsity, I started using more and more drugs. And the type I was using became really, really dodgy. And throughout that time, my parents, I had been causing a lot of chaos with my family. This disease, it doesn't just affect you, it affects absolutely everyone around you.
Absolutely.
And I started lying about the most stupid of things, like small things. I was permanently out of it. And one day my mom wanted to drug test me. And I was like, oh shit, I can't smoke weed now. But hey, there's other stuff I can do. So I decided to start eating nutmeg or huffing spirits and deodorant. That was the desperation. And at that time, I still didn't really think I had a problem. All along, I was still using copious amounts of Ritalin. Like I'm talking up to, it was over 200 milligrams of Ritalin in a few hours. And I honestly thought I was fine. My skin started going horrendous. Like my face was covered in cuts and whatnot. And I started getting into super dangerous situations. So the final year of my active addiction was where things just spiraled out of control. I failed first year 2 times in a row, doing worse each time. And I was blaming everything around me. I was adamant I was fine. it was everyone else's
Mm.
thing, not mine. Woe is me.
Yep.
And yeah, so in that final year, that's where the drugs got really bad. And where things really turned was that I got involved with a drug dealer and we started dating. He was a very, very abusive man, both physically and sexually abusive. And throughout that time, I thought I was the luckiest person in the world to have this man in my life. And, you know, when I think of it, I was actually I found a picture of me and him the day before yesterday. And in that photo, I see there's this big smile on my face. But I got quite choked up looking at that because I was so deluded at that time. I thought I was the happiest person. But I was so broken.
You think you're so in love. It's like, this is my person. We can be wild together. We can go insane together. This is some Sid and Nancy shit, you know? And when you take a look back, you're kind of like, I really hated myself.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Yeah. Fuck, man.
Oh yeah, big time. And I thought, this is the love of my life. He loves drugs just as much as I do. I can't think of anything better. You know, like, this is perfect. But it really wasn't. And eventually my family had an intervention because they were like, this guy's going to kill you, Imogen. He is going to kill you. But in my mind, I was so out of it. And it took a while before I could actually really, you know, come to terms with the kind of abuse I went through.
Yeah.
And so he lived in Margate, and I would travel from Joburg to there. And at this point, I started stealing like money.
Yep.
And I got a job purely just so I could fund my drug use. It's absolutely absurd. And I'd practically go missing for weeks at a time in Margate, just sitting in this little room getting high. And I honestly thought it was the best life. And I genuinely could not comprehend the idea of living a life without drugs. And I had a second overdose. It was actually a little bit before that. And that's where I kind of figured, like, things are getting a little bad, but anyway. And I had lied to my mom about an exam just to score extra Ritalin. And during this time, I was using a lot of other shit. But Ritalin, I actually hadn't realized how much I'd been abusing.
Yeah.
It was
And it's dangerous.
quite scary. Oh, yeah.
Such a dangerous.
So it is. It is. I believe it has its place.
Yeah.
But with me, I ended up being the problem, not the Ritalin or the other drugs.
Yeah.
My mom gave me about a week's worth because I had lied about an exam date. And I went home and I finished it. And I hadn't been gone for even an hour. And she phoned me saying we needed to talk and to bring back the pills. But I couldn't because I just finished them. And what went through my mind was, fuck, I can't let her take away my best friend. I need this. I don't know what I'd do without, Ritalin. I don't know what I would do without it. I knew if she found out, I'd have to go and get treatment. And I was like, not a chance. I'm fine. So I did probably the most horrendous thing I could have done. And I thought, okay, so last time I overdosed, I got a slap in the wrist. Maybe I can blame the missing pills on an overdose. So I deliberately took every single pill in the house and overdosed and blamed, staged an attempt just so I could cover my ass with the Ritalin.
And there again goes back.
And
sorry, the time.
Yeah.
Our time. But
oh, no.
it's it goes back to holding your parents hostage. And that's a theme with addiction.
Oh, yeah.
Holding the people that care about you the most, holding them hostage, being like, you did this to me. You did this to me.
Yeah.
And that's how you pull
Yeah.
at their strings. And that's something parents need to know as well, and loved ones, that does happen.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. No, looking back now, I thought that my parents were like so unreasonably strict. I just thought, like, I mean, they're being so silly about this. And when I look back now, I'm like, shit, I put them through hell. And that last time I overdosed, I'll never forget, you know, they had to tube me and pump my stomach. You know, it's horrible things that go in your nose.
Ooh, yeah. Dude. Oh no, shame.
Yeah. And I remember
Well,
looking
not
at
shame,
my dad
crying.
crying.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I remember seeing my dad cry. And that's when I really, I think that was probably one of the worst things I did in active addiction. It absolutely destroyed my family. But at the end of the day, I still got to keep my best friend. And yeah. And then, yeah, that's roundabout after that. That's when the drug dealer boyfriend came into the picture. And, you know, I could go into all the details, but, you know, everyone has these war stories. But you can just imagine a dark, empty place. There's just a dark, empty place. And just before I went to rehab, I had been on a 3-day and night bender. And I'd been academically excluded for failing a third time round. And I remember looking on the internet, trying to see how to tell if you're an addict. And it's like,
yeah,
really? And sure as shit, I ticked every single box. And then on the 8th of August, 2016, I phoned my dad and I said, I need help. And that's when I got to rehab. And it was just after my 21st, which didn't end well at all.
21st are always a nightmare. If you're an addict, if you want to be an addict, if you like find yourself heading towards being an addict and you have a 21st that ends up with you in hospital or ends up with you making really bad decisions, I feel that's when you need to take a step back and say, slow down. It's
oh yeah.
So you made that decision. You picked up the phone and phoned your dad. How was he when you brought it up? Was it like a relief?
He was so relieved. He said that night I went to rehab was the first night he actually slept in peace because he knew I was safe.
Oh, I relate to that.
Yeah. But when I remember looking, you know, when you go through that detox and it's just like, oh, the absolute worst. And I remember looking at the ceiling thinking, how the fuck am I going to do this? There is no way in hell I can stay clean. And yeah, it was one of the most terrifying times of my life. Yeah, as you know, when you get clean, you actually come to some hard truths.
You know, it's like what I say to people a lot is, if you haven't been, you know, people can hear people like, you take complete accountability for things. So you like, I held my parents hostage. I did this, I did that. But also, you know, you were in an abusive relationship. And the reason you are so self-aware, I find, is rehab. And if you go in and you do the work, or you want to get clean on your own and you do the work, when you start to become self-aware enough, I feel like that's when you can slowly become sober and enjoy it. I feel
definitely. You know, what was a big motivation for me was in one of the shares, I think it was a counselor, someone had said 99% of addicts will relapse. And I had so many people saying you'll relapse. And I was like, well, fuck you, watch this shit. I'm going to stay sober. And honestly, the past 4 years of sobriety, it's been bloody hard. I think what causes a lot of addicts to fall short is that they have this idea that, well, I know I had the idea that sobriety is, you know, all those rainbows and unicorns and all that beautiful stuff, when it's not. It's hard work, and you really do need to learn a lot about yourself and those character defects. And you know, one of the hardest things for me was that I thought my family were going to just be fine and they'd just forgive me just like that. And I had that sense of entitlement. And oh goodness, I was the queen of self-pity during that time. And I found the people that called me out on my bullshit, at the time, I loathed them. But those are the people that really helped me stay clean.
Bro, like I always say, and I tell this story all the time, is so I was in and out of rehab a lot. And then the last rehab I went to was the same one you went to.
Hey.
Yeah, good counselors, bro. I got out of that. I came out and I was more self-aware, but obviously I enjoyed like the pity that I got from some people and how I could ride it out.
Well, yeah.
And even when I was in the halfway house, like, you know, you kind of manipulate that you're getting sober, you manipulate the people around you. And then my brother, he was, my mom and my dad were always like, I'm so proud of you, you're doing the work, everything's fine, you got this, you got this. And my brother would sit there and just go, I'll only trust you years down the line. Years.
Yeah.
He's like, you could lie through your teeth for all I know. You need to prove yourself. And he was one of the only people that did that. And I remember 3 years down the line, on my 3 years sober, he messaged me. He did it publicly. He put it on Facebook and he said, I am so proud of you. And that was one of the biggest moments. So when people are hard with you in recovery, you fucking need that, because it's so easy to take a ride.
Oh yeah, you need people to call you out on your bullshit. And also there comes this point where you actually need to sit back and you need to take a hard look at yourself. You know, when I honestly thought, like, I had one character defect, it was fine. But fuck, when I realized like that one little one stemmed into a whole bunch of other character defects, like I get so defensive about it and I get super aggressive. And then once I realized, you know, what these character defects were, and it kind of changed my perspective on things and my perspective on myself. It was the hardest thing.
I think it's important just to explain to anyone who's watching. Okay, so when we say character defects, I think if someone's not in NA or whatever, they're probably like, what the hell are these two talking about? Explain a little bit about that.
So everybody has character defects and everyone has assets. So by character defects, I'm referring to, so manipulation, for example, people pleasing. If I'm nice to that person, they probably won't give me shit in a group, you know. When it comes to even like the smallest of things. So also another one with the whole masking, when you come across as an aggressive person, that's you're basically putting on that front so that people don't come into your boundaries and you try to scare them off. So those are character defects, like self-pity, blaming everyone, everything, but yourself. And what I found so dangerous about those kind of shortcomings was that I felt that if you feed too much into those, you're going to see your ass in relapse.
Yep.
So, for example, I'm feeling sorry for myself. Woe is me. What am I going to do? I think I'm going to get high. You know?
That's the thing. It's like when I first did the character defects, I was kind of like, but we already hate ourselves so much because we're addicts and it's going to be so easy. You know what I mean?
But, oh, yeah.
as you do it, and because you can acknowledge it, and because you know what the defects are, it does play a big role in your recovery by acknowledging them. Like you said, the self-pity thing, when my cousin passed away, that was the best, it's going to sound horrible, but it was the best excuse I had to do drugs. And it is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I rode that way. But first of all, I didn't want to face my emotions about what had happened. Second of all, perfect excuse. People feel sorry for me. I can do what I want. And they'll just throw it off to trauma, you know. And then in recovery, when traumatic events did happen, I could have like, I remember I was in a relationship and we broke up. And my first instinct was, I'm going to relapse. I'm going to call my old friend. I'm going to relapse. And thank God I didn't, but I didn't because I knew, wait, this is a character defect. You are trying to play victim and you are manipulating. And that's abusive and unhealthy.
You have to play the whole movie through. And, you know, as I hear you say that, what stands out for me is excuses. You know, so in terms of, you know, when I got clean, it was only really after my 3rd year that I actually got that happiness. Like throughout, so I did some training as a paramedic, and I really got to, I saw a suicide, and it really got me thinking. Seeing that mother's pain and that stuff gave me a whole different perspective. The selfishness. And, you know, as time carried on, I actually started seeing more and more addicts and looking from a different side of it. And you're seeing from the parent side, it is such a shocker, you know, the way addicts use, you know, overdoses and suicide attempts as ways to manipulate people.
And they do. And we both did it. We both did.
Oh, yeah.
And I just want to make it clear to people watching, I always say this, I was a terrible person in active addiction. I was not nice. There's nothing redeemable about it. But I wasn't a bad person. I was sick. And I do acknowledge that. I was very, very ill. Only if you've got a loved one who's in active addiction, they are not going to think that they are the bad person. They are not going to think that they are making the mistakes, because they need to think that everyone else around them is fucking things up for them so that they can carry on using. And that's important for parents to know, because for me, it was so easy to manipulate my mom. It was, you know, and then you have someone like my brother, and like you say, people in your life that were harsh on you. Those are the people that literally get you to go, oh, wait, maybe I'm not so innocent and perfect and pure and untouchable.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, so as time went by in sobriety, and something that I feel is very important to mention is, you know, I'll explain the incident from last year, but later, but those 5 pillars, you know, and
you want to tell everyone what they are?
Sure. So what I found in terms of what has kept me clean for so long is, first of all, the meetings. And, you know, I used to get so over it, and so I was doing so many meetings, but I found just simply by saying, hi, I'm Imogen and I'm an addict, reminding yourself that you're an addict really does go a long way. And, you know, I really did find that those meetings were an escape for me. Because I always felt that I wasn't alone.
Yeah.
You know, like things that I've done, you know, other people have done them as well. And it really, you know, you really don't feel super alone in those cases. And in terms of service, you know, be it putting away chairs and whatnot, or chairing meetings, that was the second pillar. There's then the spirituality, which I find is super important, and I struggled a lot with the whole higher power thing. I could not wrap my head around it. But the way I actually saw spirituality is that you can't go around being a dick to everyone. Spirituality is your morals, how you take care of yourself, how you treat other people. And I find that that goes a long way in terms of sobriety.
I found when I first went into the rooms of NA, and they brought up the higher power, still to this day, like if I go to a meeting, sometimes I don't say, you know, we at the end of a meeting, guys, it's like, you're going to think it's a cult. You hold hands, you stand in a circle and you say, God, the serenity, and you say the serenity prayer and it's cool. But sometimes I don't say God. I start, like, everyone's like, God, and I'm like, grant me the serenity. So if you are fearful of a higher power and fearful of going into a meeting and hearing people talk about a higher power, spirituality, you can make it whatever you want. They don't expect you to be religious. They don't expect you to have a higher power in a God that's in a Bible. You know, you can make it your own. For me, in early recovery, my higher power, it's going to sound really cultish, and I'm actually not so much a part of NA anymore. You know, I still have a sponsor, I still have a sponsee, and I do the steps on my own time, but I don't go to meetings that much. But my higher power was the people in the rooms, because I looked around and I was like, you're clean, you're clean, you're clean. You've been clean for 20 years. You've been clean for one day, and that's a miracle, you know? And to have that support system around me, that was my higher power. So I just want to make people know, because a lot of people get hesitant about going to the higher power. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, you know, the sponsoring. I always say, you know, when it comes to sponsors, you need to have that person that you're going to call at 1 a.m. Honestly, I've had some incredible sponsors throughout the year that have gotten me through the worst of times. And after my first year, I actually became a sponsor. And I think that's where also service comes in. You know, what is that saying? We only keep what we have by giving it away. Yeah, it really is true. It really is. And, you know, then the whole step work thing. I haven't done step work in a long time, but I still read my step 1 and all my step work that I have done. And sometimes when I'm feeling really shitty, I look back at my step work and it's like, yeah, I'm not going back to this shit again.
Yeah, you've come a long way. You've come a long way.
And another pillar that I discovered was your support and friends. And what I found so daunting was the fact that when I got clean, first of all, I didn't know who I was, but all of a sudden, I didn't have friends. The people after that I chose to spend time with were people that fed my soul. And, you know, I know not everyone has family members to support them, but I found the longer I stayed clean, those relationships started mending. And the support I've received from my family is incredible. And so throughout the years of, it's been challenging staying clean. And honestly, what has saved my ass has always been the rooms. And so last year, January, I was raped. And I had every excuse to relapse, and people would understand. But then that's an excuse. That's not good enough. And for a while, I started slipping and I was losing hope on everything. I've never been so depressed in my life. I wasn't able to continue studying, and it just broke me completely. And then in the March, I got to a whole new level of depression where I had a very close encounter of relapsing. And I phoned my parents and I moved into a halfway house again. And honestly, halfway houses have saved my ass. And the reason why I bring this up is that everyone can have an excuse to relapse, but it's an excuse. And I personally don't think there's a good enough excuse to go back to that. And these rooms have saved my life on numerous occasions. And it's now finally, and I did promise myself last year that if I was still feeling that way as I felt in January, I was going to give up. And here I am a year later, and I've never felt so free in my life. Life, this is one of the things I learned, is that life can be really shitty. But it's those beautiful moments that we hold on to that keep us clean. If we go back, we won't have those beautiful moments anymore.
Imogen. Okay, I don't know. Hold on. Let me just, I don't like getting like too emotional here, you know. It's hearing a story like that and hearing, because, you know, there's people that watch this show that are struggling. There's people that will tune in and they're like, you know, maybe I should give up, but I'm too scared to. I'm scared to lose everything. You know, I'm scared to lose the party life. What's life without drugs? And for someone to share a story the way you just did now, which was, first of all, with honesty, knowing that recovery is not a walk in the park. It is difficult. There are what you could find any excuse to relapse if you choose to. But if you put in, what I really appreciate is how you spoke about the rooms, because a lot of people have different ways they got sober, and yours for you, which was for me, is Narcotics Anonymous. And that kept you together. And then to go through something so traumatic, something that a lot of people go through in active addiction, and to go through it variety is terrifying. It's terrifying. And it's, first of all, it's a difficult thing to speak about. Second of all, it would be the perfect excuse for someone wanting to go back. And to say that you reached out for help and you put yourself in a halfway house because you were concerned for your well-being and you knew that you had too much to lose is incredible, because that's what recovery gives you. You start building this life for yourself, even if it's hard at times. You start gaining friends, you start gaining community, you start finding yourself. And the fact that you knew that if this traumatic moment, if you use that to hurt yourself, you would lose all that you worked hard for, is phenomenal. Like, that is phenomenal. You are a phenomenal woman.
Thank you. Thank you. Honestly, the life that I have at the moment, I never thought I'd have this. Like, I mean, life can be really shitty, but it's really now that there's so many beautiful moments I'm experiencing, new people in my life, new opportunities, new memories that I make. And what I find is sometimes when I'm feeling really low, I look at some pictures that I've taken throughout sobriety, and it makes me smile, because I'm like, you know what? I'm feeling shit right now, but it's not a forever feeling. Feelings pass and feelings don't kill you.
Isn't it nice to be able to feel?
So, like, I mean, I'm in two mindsets about it. There are moments when I hate it. There's moments when I love it. But the biggest comfort is knowing that feelings come and go. And you need to take responsibility of them. You must feel what you feel, but also you need to take responsibility on how you act them out, you know.
Dude, like I said before, guys, I met Imogen online. Funny memes. That seems to be how I meet everyone. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, you form like a group on Facebook of people who just share offensive memes and get like kicked off. But this is my first time hearing your story. You know, we've spoken a few times and we've shared like a little bit of, like, I know some of it, but I don't know the whole story. And this is why I love, first of all, why I love NA, is because you get to hear these stories and you get to get that kind of grounding where you're like, okay, she can do it. I can do it. She can help me. I can help. You know, like, it's a good feeling. And I'm just so glad that you decided to speak here and you were open to it and you were ready to do it. because your story is really important. Also, at the age of 21, bro. That's my sponsee. My sponsee got sober at 19 on her own. And when I find girls like you in the rooms, bro, I'm like, you better be at every freaking meeting, and you better be telling those young girls that they can stay sober.
Well, like, you know, that's also another thing, is that I thought, oh, I can't go out and do all this fun stuff. I can't go out with mates. And the thing is that you got to put in your own boundaries. Like, I mean, so you can't have a life until you've got a set foundation in recovery.
Mm-hmm.
And from time to time, I go out, but I have those boundaries I put in. If I don't feel comfortable with something, I go home. I'm done. But I have had so much fun. Like, I mean, we've done some pretty fun things, like checking out abandoned hospitals and all sorts of crazy adventures that I would have never been able to do if I was using. Yeah. Like, I get to go on little camping, you know, things with friends, and I get to spend time with my horse sober. I get to have family time. I can do so much now that I could have never done before, and I can actually enjoy it.
That's beautiful. And that's such an important message. It really is. Everything that you have shared, I am honored to have given you a platform to share the story, because it's really, really important. And I like that you spoke about Narcotics Anonymous and your experiences and how the rooms helped you. I feel like people need to know the options that are available, and it's a great option. It really is. And it's not some weird cult. Well, in the beginning, it's a little culty that you think it is.
Oh, yeah.
It's a good place, and it's a good place to find that foundation and build your life from. Imogen, thank you so much for being here. I'm genuinely honored to have you, and I'm so glad you reached out, dude. Thank you.
I'm so grateful for you. I've been following you for quite a while, and you've been a very big inspiration to me. There's not many females in the rooms that, you know, in this kind of age category that are, you know, clean and sober. And I'm very grateful for you. And thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to say goodbye, but I'm not actually going to say goodbye to you. I'm just going to stop recording, and then me and you will chat. I tell this to
awesome,
and everyone sees this. So thank you guys for watching, and thank you, Imogen, for being with us. And the person behind you, what's up?
That's Alex.
Hello, you've been a part of the show the whole time.
Oh my gosh.
Okay,
shit.
I'm going to pause, say bye. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Okay, there, you're back. Wait, no, I'm still recording.